Hey everybody, this is Laverne Fuller with the Fuller Effect, and I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've been around, but I want to just take a step back and kind of reevaluate my channel. When I first initially started my channel, my goal was to be a woman of God, to reach out there, to find women that had lost their way, young women who either had bad guidance or no guidance, and talk to them about how to be a woman, how to be a wife, how to be a woman of God, um, single or married or whatever. And somewhere in there, I got a little lost. Started getting into the social media beef and or what was going on, what's considered to be what's trending. But see, God didn't put me here to find out what's trending. He put me here on an assignment to reach those that he needed for me to talk to. That doesn't mean everybody, it means certain people. So I had to resolve with myself that I'm comfortable with the people that come along are the people that God sent divine assignment in order to reach you. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not a minister. I'm not a prophet. I'm not an evangelist. I'm just someone out there who loves the Lord, who's lived my life in a certain way. And because I believe so earnestly in what God said, I believe that there's something that I can share to help someone who's stumbling. Now, I want to take a moment. May the words of my heart, the meditation of my heart, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. It is my goal to say what God has me to say. It is my goal to do what God has me to do. If God didn't tell me to say it, I don't want to say it. If God did not lead me down that pathway, I don't want to do it. Because here's the fact. If I say what God did not tell me to say, I can hinder someone. And if I do what God did not tell me to do, I can hinder someone. So I want my life to be a light that shines upon them from miles and miles around. I don't have to be someone that you know, but I can be someone that you can reach into. If you're not sure, you can ask questions. This leads me to something. Trying not to fit in. It's important. We spend so much time trying to fit in to what seems to be popular that we'll miss our calling. I started sitting back and studying the YouTube channels and the bloggers and seeing what's going on, and started trying to find out what was trending and not trending, trying to find my niche. Well, see, I didn't need to find my niche because God had already told me what my assignment was. You don't need to look for a niche when God has given you assignment. His assignment is indeed your niche. But I had to kind of pull back and catch that. And in doing that, I watched YouTubers and bloggers go in and fight and tear each other's down and cut each other's in the back and all this other kind of stuff. But I had a realization like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that there was this conflict between some YouTubers. And then one YouTuber by the name of Daryl Moore went in, and he had been having a constant beef with another YouTuber by the name of Miko 100. And he went to the gun range and he shot. This was a warning shot. And it disturbed my spirit to no end. And God said, see, I didn't make you a part of that. I did not make you a part of this foolishness. I sent you out on assignment. And it doesn't matter what anybody else in the whole wide world is doing. I told you to do something. Then he made me go back and remember Bishop Jakes and the woman thou art loosed. And I was a member of the Potter's House from inception when they came to Dallas until about 6 or 7 years ago when I moved to a different area. And I remember Bishop Jakes talking about Woman Thou Art Loosed. And the first time he preached it in this little storefront front church. And he had maybe 5-10 members, people there listening. This particular word became an international phenomenon because he said what God had him to say, and he did what God had him to do. See, when God tells you to do something, you don't have to look for people. He will bring them. He will send them. So that word in that small church over in the cornerbacks of North Carolina became an international phenomenon. Workshops, assemblies, conferences every year. It came from obedience. It came from obedience. So I implore you, stop chasing what's popular and keep doing what God has designed for you to do. You're your own unique person that God created, separate from everybody else, special. And he has something for you to do. See, what you need to understand is anybody he doesn't leave in your life is because he doesn't mean to be there. And he will send the necessary people into your life to grow you and lead you in the right direction. If you miss that mark, you'll start chasing stuff that God didn't send you after. And now, because God gives us permissive will, he won't stop you from running after it. You won't be successful at it, but he won't stop you from running after it. You're just going to delay your own progress. You're just going to delay your own progress. Now, when you do this, you're always going to feel a little bit out of place because you're not going to quite be like anybody else. But the fact is, you're not supposed to feel like anybody else because God didn't make you like anybody else. He made you unique, wonderfully made. He made you so special. And there's something about you that should shine. You don't even have to be arrogant. You don't have to be arrogant because there's something in you that's just going to shine through because you allow God to move through you. Now, when you move on your own recognizance, God can't use you like he needs to use you because you stifle him. You stifle him again. We'll go back to permissive will. You stifle him to do what he can do because he's not ever going to make you. And you can stifle so long that he'll choose someone else for what he had made you designedly, wonderfully made for. It's important not to get sidetracked. It is really important not to get sidetracked. And that's what I went through. I went through that with the YouTube thing. I knew I was on here and I started getting a couple followers. So how do I build followers? And I stopped consulting God. So I'm out there, I'm looking at channels, I'm watching beef, seeing this stuff. God had already set it up. He ordered my steps. I'm here today because God ordered my steps. He told me that there are people that he needs for me to speak to and hear. And here's the fact. I don't even need to see numbers. I'm not supposed to see numbers because it is not for me to know who God is reaching. It is God to know who he is reaching. It is just simply for me to do the job that he called me to do to the best of my ability and let him handle the rest. Perhaps he'll put me on big platforms and perhaps he'll leave me in this office. I don't know. I'm not supposed to even concern myself with that. What I'm supposed to concern myself with is being the best woman of God that I can be, sharing the stories and experiences that he gave me to help somebody along the way. See, he never puts you through a test unless he plans for you to have a testimony. And here's the thing you got to understand. Let's go back to the story of Job. You see, Satan could not touch Job without God's authority. And here's the story goes. Satan was wandering about. And God said, "What are you doing, Satan?" He said, "Oh, I'm wandering to and fro looking for who I can devour." And God said, God said, have you considered my servant Job? Huh? Yeah, God said, have you considered my servant Job? See, here's the thing. Sometimes we think that God puts us through trials and tribulations because he doesn't love us. But see, he puts us through trials and tribulations because not only does he love us, he trusts us. When God said, have you considered my servant Job? He said that with his chest stuck out, because he knew, hey, go on, try him. Because this dude here, he gonna reign supreme. I am comfortable and confident in the fact that you can't take him down. It ain't that kind of party. When you step to my servant Job, you can try everything, all the things, anything. And what I'm going to tell you is he got me. I got him. He cut for me. Ain't nothing you can do to make Job discredit me, distrust me, turn his back on me. Now, God was showing out a little bit when he said, have you considered my servant Job? Because he knew so much about Job that he knew that Job would lose every life, every limb that he had, but he would still love God. He knew that. When God puts you on assignment and he puts you through tests, it's not because he hates you. It's not because he loves you any less. It's not because he turns his back on you. It's because he's saying, hey, this one right here, this one here, this is mine. This one here got my back. I don't care what you do. You're not going to be able to turn this one from me. And he puts you up because he already knows he can trust you. He knows he can trust everything about you. Now, here's the thing I want you to understand about that too, is that when God calls you to do something, you better do it. You can't wait. You can't ponder, because delayed obedience is still disobedience. You got to trust God enough for you. And let me go back. You need to have such a relationship with God that you know him. You know him so much as you hear a word. Like if you and I were in a relationship, when I call you on the phone, I go, hey girl. You go, hey Vern. Why? Because we're in such a relationship that you know my voice when you hear it. You need to seek God's face. You need to seek his word. You need to pray. You need to follow his word. Build such a relationship that when he's talking to you, when you hear that voice that sounds like, I'm not sure, that you know it's God because you have a relationship with him. I have a teenage daughter, and it's so funny. She never can get away with anything. And I never look for anything. And I told her one day, I said, I don't ever look to catch you and stuff. God just kind of taps me on the shoulder and tells me where to go look. So we were sitting one day and I was relaxing. She said, Mommy, maybe you should take up meditation. I said, when I meditate, when I meditate, God just leads me right to your mess. She said, well, maybe you should take up yoga. Because she understands that this ain't no joke. I live my life in such a way that when God tells me, I don't even question it. I move. I go where he tells me to go. I look where he tells me to look. I hopefully say what he tells me to say. And I behave the way that he tells me to behave. And if I don't, please know that I'm still a work in progress. I'm doing the best I can. I'm hoping that today there's somebody who thinks they got it all together. There's somebody who thinks they're doing it on their own. There's somebody that thinks they're making their own decisions. Understand, baby, you don't run this, but God. God is your source. He is your protector. He is your leader. He is your guide. You can never go wrong following him, but you will make a lot of mistakes not listening to him. You need to lay supine on your face and seek him. When you go to bed at night, don't be arrogant and lay in the bed and pray to him. Get on your knees and show him that you are a servant and you have respect. Following your needs for God is just showing a level of respect. Spend 5 minutes a day in the Word. Just 5 minutes in the Word. Take your time. Before you get up and the day gets started, keep your Bible next to your bed and open that Bible and just read for 5 minutes. When my daughter was very small, it was important for me to teach her that we give God the beginning of everything we have. Your first in tithes, your first in offering, your first in time. See, tithing is not just money, it's time, it's others, it's so much more. And so we had this thing that we call snugga-bugga. So my daughter, when the alarm would go off, I'd call her, it's time to get up. But she knew that we weren't getting up and getting started. She would come to my bed and she'd lay next to me. And we'd lay quietly for about 10 or 15 minutes. And we knew that we were laying in God's arms and we're holding him. And we lie there and we'd pray and we read the Bible and we give to God for this day before we started off. That's such a little thing to give. Such a little thing to give. You see, we go out there and we fight all these giants and we expect God to come along. We want God to come in when we need him, but we don't want to give him any time. We don't want to make any room for him, but we want him to jump in. You're supposed to do that because you're God. But see, we have diligence to do as well. He doesn't ask much of us. He asks for a little time. He asks us for to be kind to others. He asks for us to do unto others as we would have him to do unto us. He asks for us to reverence him. Now, I do tithing, but my tithing is not always to the church. Some of you are going to have problems with that. But I take it and I ask God to direct me to where he wants it to go. And that's where I send it. Sometimes it's to the church. Sometimes it's to the homeless. Sometimes it's to a shelter. Sometimes it's somebody that's having trouble. Whatever God told me to do, this does not belong to me. So I don't have the right to hold it or misdirect it or blow it off. It doesn't belong to me. It's mine. To whom much is given, much is required. I want to say that again. To whom much is given, much is required. We reap what we sow. And reaping season and sowing season is a very big thing. When we're sowing, planting seeds, how do you treat people? Do you help anybody? Because see, when reaping season comes, how are you being treated? Can you get help if you ever needed it? You see, our lives are not our own. We're a representative of God to go on. We're a bit of the story. And we're supposed to bring somebody along. We're supposed to help somebody. We're supposed to be that soft place for somebody to land. You know what I'm saying? Now, I come here, and it's crazy because when I started this channel, I've been thinking about it a long time. And I said, January 1st, no matter what, come hell or high water, I said hell, I'm going to start this channel. And it was so crazy because on January 1st, 1:47 p.m., I had a nephew to be murdered. One of the first ones in our county to be named murdered in 2020. And I thought, God, seriously? You want me to go on today and talk to people? And he said, yeah. Because you act like it's about you. It's about me. You see, there's somebody I could help in that struggle. There's somebody. Sometimes we get so caught up in our feelings, we become so melodramatic and everything to where we forget that we're on assignment. Your heart can be weary. You can have pain, but you still got to do God's work. Because even in your weariness and in your pain, if you're willing to trust God, if you're willing to lean not to your own understanding, if you're willing to put your hand in His hand, He'll bring you along and He'll get you through it. He'll get you through it. He will get you through it. You have to love Him. You have to trust Him. You gotta. I'm not on this channel for clicks and views. I'm not. I'm not on this channel to move in the right circle. I'm not. I'm here because God sent me here to talk to somebody that may need talking to. May the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, be acceptable in thy sight. Oh Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Mold me, make me, cleanse me, fill me. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me.